Alright, let's get back into this. During the last stream, we kind of had a power outage, so I'm not exactly sure how much got captured and what got lost, so we might have to go do some stuff we've already been through before, but your testimony helped establish the innocent of defendant, Mr. McGilded. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least, and now here we all are again, the same players in the trial, facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my neat bunny's friend. Allow me to recap the events 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's Winter Street. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGillid. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder, but as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged, that the murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body being dropped from the skylight in the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought the possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under the seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilded died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on, as indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be it as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings. Miss Lestrade, would you tell the court now, please, what really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean. I already said all of what I know. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important. But remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to persecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Though, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose. Ginny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to trust Runo now. Iris, we're on your side. Alright then, I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down around his ears. So be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilded's pawned articles in this extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been heretofore unaware. So, Mr. Strahd, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements. This is it, then. Everything's going to come out. Like Von Zieg said. This could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Oh, yeah, I think this is the one where I also had to press her on everything, and then, like... the truth is that Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time, and the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat. I saw the disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from above me head, and a pair on the roof deck went out to call the slops. So McGilded slipped the driver some tin to do some run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard. Good grief, this is outrageous. You told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago. As you say, my lord. Then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in the McGilded trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived his court, in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes. Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend are extremely inexcusable. Believe it. The whole trial was a farce? It was all lies? The McGilded fellow was rotten to the core, just like a pickpocket. Get that lawyer from the East. We're all in on it together. You're wrong, the lot of you. Mr. Nara Odo, the lawyer there, didn't know nothing about it. Humbug. I don't think so. You really expect to believe that? He really stitched everyone up, did he? An operation to get the man off scot-free. Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony. The true significance of Mr. McGillard's pawned articles must be brought to light. Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you've just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing. Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord? I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. I mean, Mr. Naruhodo. Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Okay, press that. And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in a storage compartment underneath one of the seats. Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so I can't see nothing at all. Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain you claim Mr. McGilder was the sole passenger, do you not? False testimony, my lord. That's what that's what he told me I had to say. But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilder and the victim acquaintances? I don't know, but I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear all too well, but I've had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying or not buying. Perhaps business dealings of some kind? Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe. And then, all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone kneeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all. I believe you let out an involuntary scream. Yeah, that's what gave me away. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw the disc on the floor. Was that disc you saw this disc? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It's right next to the cove lying on the floor. Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps? I don't know, but Mr. McGill picked it up pretty smartish, and then he sat at the cove with the knife up in his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at the time? He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one, about the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife, too. Then he started asking me a load of questions, like what my name was and where I lived and all that. He even asked me about being a diver, too. After a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First there was a kind of rapping noise. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from me over my head, and the pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. There were 2 gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his gut. When I screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and Mr. Gilder got me out of sight. Out of sight? Where? Back under the seat where I started off. As the carriage came to a halt, the 2 coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops. They immediately left to fetch the police. It would appear that they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left Mr. Gilder, the driver, and you still at the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside. The driver, yes. He also testified in the trial, I believe. A fella who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves. What did McGilder and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happened, and stuff like that mainly. That was when McGilder slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout.
Hold it!
The pawn shop obviously being Windibanks on Baker Street. Just a moment, counsel. You mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well? Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand. Indeed, Lord Von Zeus. Mr. McGilda took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up all careful-like before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it, it's gotta be worth a few bob. Stina was sure the disc must be worth more than Mr. Winterbank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery. The driver looked pretty happy when Miss Gilda flashed some brass in his face, and he went off running off at a lick. Then the bog trotter called to me and told me to come out from the drag's cabin. Okay, before I do anything else... Oh, shit. Well done, Gina. It can't have been easy to tell the truth like that. She's really putting her faith in you, Reno. Yes, and to thank her, we have to face a charge of perjury once this trial is over. So I'm going to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible. I tend to really go for it, press her on every statement. I suppose I should. Oh, and another thing. What's that? Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange that they've been whispering to each other over the entire time? Yes, that is strange. It looks like they were having a secret discussion about something. I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I could do about it.
Hold it!
Threaten you how exactly? Okay, before we go any further with that,
Excuse me!
is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector, Mr. Graydon. Blimey, you trying to give me a heart attack? You have been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Discussion? With this fella? Pull the other one, Sunshine. You think I got anything to do with a shady gent like this? I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine. But they're clearly talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating. You will kindly refrain from talking amongst yourselves while the witness is giving testimony. Yes, sorry, my lord. What were those two talking about? Miss Lestrade, continue with your testimony, please. Learn you how exactly? I mean, I'd only be able to scamper if I did exactly what he said. Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago. Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said, which was... He told me I'd have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it. The ticket? Well, I never. He said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, that he'd go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in lug, to stop it from being forfeited. Give me some brass to pay for it. Really, why on earth would Mr. McGill have done such a thing? Pausing his overcoat with the pawnbroker before the arrival of the police. Makes no sense at all. There seemed to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGill had the driver deposit at Winterbanks was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important, that he needed to hide it at all costs. Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I legged it before the coppers showed up. Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, Counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired on the omnibus. It would appear on the night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGill took what he thought he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point. This disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way. I don't understand why as of yet. But 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGill's overcoat and its contents were due to be forfeited. I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the cove died right after his trial. I knew that. So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own. Well, why not, eh? They were only going to be forfeited. I shouldn't have got them. Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime. Miss Lestrade, it would appear Mr. McGill was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass. He's probably gonna sell it. You can't blame me for thinking that. Think it ain't no crime. My lord. The evidence your lordship requests has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir. Mysterious little box, deposited by McGilda 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind is a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. Oh, you really? I was at the to be continued right there? Fucking internet, or power, I swear. You couldn't have given me like 3 more minutes. Let's go. So this is the article in question, is it? A small box deposited at the pawnbroker in Mr. McGilda 2 months ago. On the night Mr. Winterbake's murder, the only item on the shelves that was touched by whoever broke into the shop. Quick, quick, let's open it and see what's inside. Good gracious, this is no ordinary box, it seems. Wow, although in truth, I had an inkling that it might be the case. It would appear that the box houses a miniature music box movement. Then, is it too much to expect? I think it would be reasonable to assume that it is a device for the playback of this disc, my lord. So here we have the means to play back Mr. McGilda's disc deposited at Winterbake's at much the same time. That's strictly correct, my lord. It was not Mr. McGilda's disc. It was the disc of his victim in the omnibus. But why, for heaven's sake? Are we to understand that the brickmaker was trying to sell this music box disc to Mr. McGilden? I believe the answer will become clear if we listen to the music on the disc, my lord. Yes, very well. The court now listen to the curious disc at last. Wait, my lord. Good grief. What is the meaning of this, Inspector? The music box and the disc are, well, they're unrelated to the case. No need to spoil the somber atmosphere in the courtroom with some silly bit of music. This disc may very well have motivated the culprit in this case to commit murder. Clearly, there's every chance that it's fundamentally important to understanding what happened. The prosecution has no objection. But no, a piece of evidence is police property now. You can't... Clearly, Scotland Yard has some vested interest here. But it is policy of this prosecutor to leave no avenues unexplored. And you, Inspector, have no jurisdiction here to prevent that from happening. No further delays, please. Play the disc. What on earth? Certainly not what I would have called music. No. It's just the same notes playing over and over again in regular sequence. Mr. Graydon? This really is priceless. After all that, the music box is broken. Broken? It can't be, can it? Well, obviously. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. If only officers sent to fetch it didn't drop it on the way back from the courtroom. Well, with much regret, I feel the court must accept that this music box offers little in the way of clues. Are you ready to move on, counsel? Come on. Yes, alright. It does sound as though it's completely broken, but is it? Could this music emanating from the music box possibly be a new clue? I believe that it could be relevant, my lord. lord, but how can it be? It's an abomination, Council, mere noise. I fail to see how it has any meaning whatsoever. This sounds strange, I agree. But there's one thing bothering me. While Graydon stands there, chorting victoriously. The inspector beside him has a rather telling expression on his face. It's as if Gregson recognizes a sound, he's familiar with it somehow. And that's making him appear extremely on edge. If that's a stance of defense, my Nipponese friend, answer me this. Just what relevance do you propose this woeful chiming has on this case? It's the defense's belief that the sound emanating from this music box is not supposed to be music. Just because this is a music box doesn't necessarily mean the sounds we're hearing are music. Look at that. The smile vanished from Graydon's lips as soon as I said it. It's obviously Morse code. I'm on the right lines here. I must be making deductions based on how people react to what you say. Are you head now? Oh, okay. You're acting just like Hurley, Bruno.
Objection!
The sounds we're hearing aren't necessarily music. Well, now that you've told us what they are not, I'm sure the court would like to hear what they are. Do delight us, my Nipponese friend. Well, surely you have an idea in mind, because if not, it will be the death of your ill-formed argument. Exactly. The music box is clearly broken. Refusing to accept that fact is pure foolishness. It got me. I don't know what the answer is, yet. Bruno, just examine the music box very thoroughly. And I'm fairly certain that it's not broken at all. Really? Really? The way it's made, it can only produce a single note anyway. Thank you, Iris. Alright, well, if the music box isn't broken, it must mean that the sounds it's producing have some significance that isn't musical. Could it be... Is that what those sounds are? Something just struck me, Bruno. I feel like recently, in the past few hours even, I've heard another sound very much like the one this music box makes. Yes, it's a familiar sound. Actually, Iris, I was just thinking exactly the same thing. Again, this is just waiting for the story to catch up what everyone should obviously fucking know. I'm going to press the defense for an answer. If your assertion is that the sound produced by this music box is not in fact music at all, then what the devil is it, counsel? All the evidence we've seen so far, all the testimony we've heard, let's point to a single answer now. The prosecution demands that my learned Nipponese friend presents proof now. Tangible proof. Christ, good lord. Tangible proof of the latest wild speculation. Alright then, this could be the best chance I'm going to get to fight back at this trial. Am I right? I'm going to join all the dots together. The evidence that explains the true nature of the sound of this music box is... do I have evidence to suggest it? Today's paper, counsel. The headline is Pawnbroker Perishes in Pick-Purse Plunder, by supportive of your cause. No, my lord. I was hoping you'd look a little further down the page. Further down? Ministry Mole classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. Yes, this is a very serious matter being investigated at the highest level, I understand. I've heard that international transmissions along supposedly secure lines are somehow being intercepted and leaked to various other countries. Presumably, those transmissions are in the form of wire telegrams? Of course. Juror number 5, your input, please. Stop. Oh, me, sir? Whatever's the matter? You told the court before that you worked at the same communication stations as Mr. Graydon, did you not? Yes, that's correct. And the particular station where you work? deals in government communications and newspaper reports. Yes, we're not your run-of-the-mill communication station at all. Our work is extremely important. Then tell me, is this not a very familiar sound? You don't mean to say... It is it? That's right. It bears no more than a passing resemblance to the sound made by your telegraph machine as you tap it. I believe it's called Morse code. But I don't believe it. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to leaking telegrams from government departments, there could be nobody more perfectly placed than a highly skilled communications officer. Are you suggesting that the music box disc contains stolen government secrets in Morse code? Order! Please, everyone, order! This is High Treason Council. They're serving of capital punishment. Too much new vocabulary. What is this treason? What is capital punishment? The sort of words I'd half expect you to know. For our sovereign government's confidential information, hostile nations would surely pay almost any price. Yes, and on the night 2 months ago, that was the very negotiation that was taking place inside the omnibus. But in the end, McGill perished, and the all-important disc laid unclaimed in the pawnbrokery. My word. In which case, whoever stole that information in the first place must surely have been beside himself with worry. Because if the disc were to be discovered before it found out its way out of the country, it would reveal an act of high treason, punishable by death. So the corporate had no choice but to retrieve it. In order to do that, it would have to gain entry to the pawnbrokery illegally in the middle of the night. Because the article left behind by Mr. McGill would incriminate him too much if it got into the wrong hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Graydon? You think I've been stealing government secrets? Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. So in response to the defense accusation, you claim complete innocence, do you? Well, of course I do. I had to stand here in silence while the pretentious foreign lawyer has been prattling around.
Objection!
Then by all means, counter the charges, sir. The prosecution demands the witness testifies in response to the accusations brought by the defense. Why are you helping us out now? Delighted, I'm sure. The witness is reminded that the crime under scrutiny at trial is the murder of the pawnbroker, Mr. Windibank, that being a most flagitious offense by which the law of this land sanctions a capital punishment. But the heinous act of high treason is no less a serious crime. I urge you to bear that in mind as you testify, Mr. Graydon. So then, let us proceed.
Hold it!
Excuse me? You got us have a rabbit and pork here, Governor. We got things to say. I beg your pardon? Who do you think you are? Name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation professional baddie. Name's Ringo Skulkin. We ain't baddies enough to sell off out of our motherland. That's right. We're what they call... the Three Skulkin Brothers. Bad timing, fellas. Very bad timing. A mere communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Besides, the sound produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. It was some low-class brickmaker negotiating with Mr. McGill anyway, was it not? With no relation to the man. Look, all we done is break into the gaff the other night like what we told us to do. If we'd known there was some dodgy government secrets involved, we wouldn't have touched it. Mr. Skulkin? One mister will do, Governor. What's up? Do I take it that you now admit to the crime? That on the night in question you did indeed gain entry to the premises illegally? And moreover, you did so as a party of 3 in collaboration with Sir Graydon there. We did, Gov, we did. Quiet down, please. What's shady yet, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two ruffians are referring to. Was that a rotter getting us mixed up in all this monkey business? Never said nothing about no government secrets. It's supposed to be a straight-up job. And what about the geezer whose shop it was, eh? Poor old bloke didn't have to die, did he? Nice to know who your friends are. Whatever these men say, I deny the accusations. Indeed. Well, I'm certain I wasn't expecting this little music box to become so significant in the proceedings. However, as it has, I will admit it into the court record as evidence. Okay, so now we have to probably have to inspect that a little bit. What is it, Reno? I've just noticed something about this music box. It looks like the bottom of it opened up as well. You're right. Come on then, what are you waiting for? Let's open it. Then here it goes. Look at it. There's another movement on the other side. So does that mean you can set another disc to play back on this side? Yes, I think so. Looks like the two movements are linked together. They're linked? So if you had two discs, they would play back at the same time. Oh, hello. This mechanism turns the bumps in the disc into sound, is it? Yes, the movement. It's all thanks to the combs with its teeth that are plucked at the passing bumps. Usually the teeth in the comb are different lengths, so each one produces a different tone. But this comb is very strange. All the teeth are exactly the same length. What does that mean? It means that no matter which tooth is plucked by the passing bumps, the music box will make the same sound. I've never seen a music box like it before. This is strange. A music box that can only be played with a single note. There has to be some significance to that, surely. Would have thought there'd be a second movement on the other side of the box. And this movement is like the other one. The comb teeth are all the same length. So that movement also only produces a single tone like the other one. Yes, it must do. Except that the length of the teeth on the two combs isn't the same. So a single tone produced by this movement will be different than a single tone we've already heard. What? Basically, each movement can only produce a single note, but the notes they produce are different. A music box that can only play two tones. See how the gilded disc sits in the music box the man deposited window banks? It could be a more perfect fit. So there's no question, the disc was designed to be played in the music box. Despite that, the sounds it produces are neither musical, nor that they appear to have any meaning. It just doesn't make any sense. I wonder, perhaps there's more to this music box than meets the eye. Maybe we haven't discovered all its secrets yet. So is this newspaper headline accurate? Government communications are being interrupted. How could I possibly know? What do you mean by that? Any important government communications are handled by high-level officers, by specialists. I know members of staff in the station where I work, but I've never been entrusted with sensitive information. Oh no, stop. I must say something. Stop. Let me guess. Juror number 5. We regular communication station officers aren't as lowly as you're being led to believe. A team of us are responsible for setting up and testing the telegraphs used by the Ministry. Mr. Graydon is the team leader. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in position of idle. Stop. So you have access to equipment used for these confidential communications, Mr. Graydon. But what of it? The transmissions are always made behind closed doors that can't be heard. In any case, all messages are sent enciphered. Our employees can't possibly understand them. No, stop. Must say something. Stop. Mr. Graydon regularly attends meetings with ministry technicians and ministry communication team. He assists them in ensuring that there's no errors in important international communications. He's received top prize of cipher cracking convention 5 years in a row now. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idle. Stop. Well, your idol would appreciate it if you keep your mouth shut. You should really pick your idols more carefully. I tell you, this lawyer's accusations are completely unfounded. Besides, the sound produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. They're not? To anyone with a brain, that would be blatantly apparent on listening to the music box for even a few seconds. Of course, of course. Surely it can't be that my learned friend is unfamiliar with Morse code. Ouch. He looks genuinely shocked at my ignorance. I'd be more than happy to demonstrate the basics to you, sir. A lesson here in court? Morse code is a continuous series of two distinct tones. Tones, you say? Yes. A short dot and a long dash. By combing these in different ways, you construct letters. I see. For example, this A and this... But when you listen to the sound produced by this music box, you only hear one tone, don't you? It sounds so familiar. The rhythm is the same in everything. But there's no discernible meaning to this apparently random sequence of notes. So your assertion is fundamentally flawed. This is not Morse code. Really, you shouldn't be so surprised. What did I tell you? The music box is nothing but a worthless piece of scrap. Perhaps you might consider studying your subject matter before casting aspersions in future. Stop. Nothing to say, but stop. Oh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Iris? I mean, if the government secrets are somehow being leaked using the music box, so many other things would slot into place so nicely. Would there still be something I haven't considered? Would it really be impossible to use this music box somehow to play back Morse code? There's still every possibility this music box was instrumental in leaking government secrets. That's the belief of the defense, at least. Does it please you in some way, my Nipponese friend, to repeat the same line of argument ad infinitum? It's already been established that the Morse code, two tones are required, dots and dashes. Yes, I'm well aware of that. Then what? Well, it would appear the defense has a hypothesis to put forward. You'd better present your idea at once, counsel. How do you propose that this music box, which appears to produce only a single tone, could have been used to cipher secret messages into Morse code? Because there's an underside. We already read this. Come on, we already read this.
Got it!
Gracious, what am I looking at here? Another movement on the other side of the music box. What? It appears, my lord, the two movements are linked together. In other words, you can put two discs in this music box, and the sounds of both will play back at the same time. Good heavens. As the court has heard, Morse code comprises of two tones, a short dot and a long dash. With a second disc in place, this music box can be used to generate Morse code and convey a message. This is beyond a joke. I'm sorry? This poor excuse for a lawyer has absolutely no evidence to support his claim. Though, of course, if my learned friend were able to present the court with a second disc, that'd be another matter. Well, I can't at the moment. And may I remind the court that, as the witness has pointed out, he was not the only one in the omnibus with Mr. McGillicuddy 2 months ago striking a deal over a disc or discs. Indeed, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. Exactly. It had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Though it has holes, I must admit the argument presented by the defense has much promise. I believe the cross-examination should continue. The link between Graydon and the victim in the omnibus case must be there somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. Dear, it looks like you need to give your argument more strength, Reno. You reiterate your testimony if you please, Mr. Graydon. I must, though I maintain exactly what I did at the start of the pointless cross-examination. It was some low-class brickmaker negotiating with Mr. McGillicuddy anyway, was it not? No relation to the man. So 2 months ago in the omnibus, Mr. McGilda killed the brickmaker and stole the disc. Mr. Mason was a single man with almost nothing to his name. It seems he lived in artisan quarters some years ago, but some people there remember little about him. It doesn't make much sense though, does it? How would a humble brickmaker come to acquire secret government information? How indeed. There must be somebody else involved behind the scenes in all this. Somebody who acquired the disc and gave it to Mr. Mason. In order to take it to the meeting... In order to take it to the meeting with Mr. McGill to negotiate a deal. You may have it in for me, sir, but I assure you I have far more class than that. A book brickmaker from the artisan quarter and this well-to-do communications officer. If only I could find some evidence to link the two of them together. If you have nothing more to add on that note, let us return to the witness testimony. Look, all we done is break the gaff like the other night, like you told us to do.
Hold it!
Like Mr. Green told you to do, you mean? That's it, yeah. Who else, eh? Silly me thought we was popping over a natter after all them years, but the rotter had a dodgy job for us. Ash? Let me stop you there, Mr. Skulkin. After all them years, you say. Do you mean to tell me that Mr. McGraden is an acquaintance of yours? We're sociable kind of baddies, you know. Sure, let's say Graydon's an old China. Oh shit. No, turn it off. No, why don't you baddies desist with this fiction? Obviously, I don't know these men from Adam. Now, for the last time, stop trying to implicate me with your sword thievery. Well, that's bloomin' nice, isn't it? You little turncoat. Fine, that's how you want it. You can play at that game. I never heard of this geezer before, neither. Don't know him from Adam. Never spoke with him before in my life. Never even seen him. Never, Nash. Never. Good grief. Such a blatant lie will not stand in my courtroom. Well. All I say is this. Okay. So I accidentally skipped the part that I was supposed to... Assuming we thought we were just popping over for a nap after all them years, but the rotter had a dodgy job for us. Do you mean to tell me... Okay, I think this was the line. We're the social kind of baddies, you know. Sure, let's say Graydon's an old China.
Excuse me!
Is something wrong, Mr. Skulkin? No, the other Mr. Skulkin. What? Who? Me? When your brother was testifying just now, he said something that seemed to cause you to react. Oh, I just remember the old days, that's all. We used to have this right old laugh together way back when. Together? With Mr. Graydon, you mean? Yeah, with Ash, I mean. You look at him now in his fancy whistle and suit, and you wouldn't Adam and Eve it. But when we was younger, he was in a poor part of town just like us. Is that so? But he was always a leery one. He had the brains, he had the savvy. Always coming up with with smart ideas with what would never have gone through our heads. Or blimey, ain't that the truth? Remember, Milverton and Skulkin Milgren? That was a cocker, huh? Save for after the trial you reminiscing about has no place in this courtroom. And neither does your fruit. Oi, Geezer asked us a question, didn't he? And we was answering. Yeah, we ain't done nothing wrong. Nevertheless, the court is now prepared to accompany you on your trip down memory lane. Counsel, can you turn our attention back to the testimony, please? I don't know. Could the sentimental story be relevant somehow? Yes, it's all relevant. My lord. Yes, counsel? The brother's last sentimental statement could hold vital information related to this case. Very well, counsel. I will permit the brothers to supplement their testimony with that detail. Briefly, I hasten to add. Milverton and Skulkin Milk Run. Do I have anything? Oh, okay. Interesting.
Objection!
Okay. I have the information I need. But what do I present it on? All of a sudden, we seem to be up our own necks in serious matters of national security, although all this talk about interception of secret government messages is still conjecture at this stage. It would explain a number of things, though, wouldn't it? The negotiation Ginny overheard at the omnibus 2 months ago, and the break-in at Windibanks. But the trouble is, it wasn't Mr. Graydon in the omnibus with Mr. McGilden. No, it was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker, who was so horribly murdered. Only there was some link between the two men somehow. No, but Graydon's testimony seems to be watertight as ever. I wonder if the key to making us headway with the cross-examination here could be those two brothers. Okay. We know that's bullshit. Because we can probably present that here, right?
Objection!
Oh, come on! How is that not the... I'm sure I'm going to regret asking, but what exactly was that? Some kind of business? Just a little scheme we had going back when we was youngsters. A bit of fun, really. Delivering fresh milk to the locals, that's what it was all about. That sounds alarmingly legitimate. There has to be a catch. I suppose since we're here, I should ask them to elaborate. But on what? Business name. So this business was a bit of fun, you say? It was just yourselves and Mr. Graydon involved. Yeah, that's it. Milverton and Skulkin Milk Run, was it? Yeah, that's it. And where did the Milverton part come from? Alright, I thought a clever clogs like you would have worked that one out. That is... Enough of this. How much longer are we expected to listen to this drivel? Let me guess, you don't accept anything that these two witnesses are saying. Tell me, why is it that it was only at the mention of Mr. Milverton that you decided to interject? Because well... And we're the happiest of homes that one came from. Yeah. His old man was struggling for money so much, his wife walked out on him. She took the name, Graydon then, see? And Ash will always be Milverton to us. Milverton. So that's what used to be your surname, did it? Of course not. This is all bunkum. I've been a Graydon since I was born. Do you really think you could rely on such testimony of these two thieves? You're a communications officer attached to the civil service. As such, your personal details would have been thoroughly checked at the time of your appointment. It'd be a very simple matter indeed to subpoena these records, Mr. Graydon. It would appear that Mr. and Mr. Skulkin's testimony had been reliable for once. You were born Ashley Milverton, then. Is that correct? Very well, yes. So Ashley Graydon was once Ashley Milverton. That information could change things. It could turn out to be extremely important. of a sudden... Okay, yeah, but this is a repeat. Before I lose any more points, let's go ahead and...
Objection!
There we go, now we can present it. Mr. Ashley Milverton, tell me, why did you try to hide your formal name from the court? Because I haven't gone by that name for years. It means nothing to me. No, I don't think that's the real explanation at all. The truth is, you had a reason to hide that name. Explain yourself, please, counsel. I have here the notes from the omnibus case, my lord. And as we know, the victim, the man we now understand have been negotiating with Mr. McGilden. Yes, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. That's right. Only Mason wasn't his surname at all. It was his given name. His full name was Mason Milverton. Milverton? Do you mean to say the saint's alive? Mr. Ashley Milverton, is it not the case that the brickmaker, Mr. Mason Milverton, was your father? I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you joined the civil service, and it really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena those records. The truth is, you have been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it onto Mr. McGilden in collaboration with your father. The new facts and evidence unveiled by this cross-examination of these witnesses all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGilden. By the dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yes, stealing information, being sent in secret government communications, and selling it to Mr. McGilden. Mr. Graydon conducted this elaborate scheme using 2 music box discs to encode the information. As presumably a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. And a very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credence whatsoever. But the deal with Mr. McGilden went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGilden managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learned the situation, you appeared at Windibanks 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover the 2 articles McGilden had placed in the pawn there. But that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other you never found. So the same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? We never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Minderwank was killed, the intruder to the pawnbrokery touched one item and one item alone, the music box. As rather ingenious demonstrated using the 2 prints from the security camera, indeed. So the question that naturally begs answering is this: why was there only one article disturbed? The answer is obvious, because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny all of this actually began on that fateful night 2 months ago? I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Sir? There appears to be blood seeping to the sleeve of your jacket. What? 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime at Windibank's pawnbrokery. One took the life of the pawnbroker himself. One struck the pouch around Mr. Schoen's waist. And a final bullet struck the calendar on the wall in the shop, having pierced the arm of one of the intruders. Mr. Graydon, that wound in your arm that you seem to be trying to hide. It's a bullet wound, isn't it? He's got you now, my yo China. Time to call it quits and crock, I reckon. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember? And I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly I was a fool to think I could trust some common backslum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windibanks that night. I paid the pair 10 guineas to accompany me. And as you've noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets? Negotiating with Mr. McGillen? As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of the sort. It's not going to go down without a fight. Not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is... well, we know that one bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun hit the pouch around Mr. Schoen's waist. The bullet from Mr. Windibank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon on the arm. Indeed, it must. We can rule out the possibilities that the man shot himself. And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windibank was shot by a 3rd gun, which could only have been fired by the 3rd intruder. Goodness. That's right, Mr. Graydon. The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windibank that night is you.
Hold it!
You little upstart. You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there the night of pawnbrokers. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the communications station. But did the thought ever cross your mind? Did you ever never consider the possibility? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I were there at the scene, I may have witnessed the crucial moment. You see, this makes me a key witness in the case, and my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What? Are you suggesting... I saw it all. I saw the very moment the pickpocket girl pointed the gun at the poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. Order, order, order. Well, it would seem we finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes. I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw in the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. Nothing would give me greater pleasure. You okay? You dying? Please don't die on stream.
That makes some good views.
Not if I don't set up a camera first.
ASMR check.
While these ruffians were jostling around with the broker, I was still near the entrance of the shop. When Windibank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see through the peephole in the door, though. The accused, in the black overcoat, shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. So the blood splattered all over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Order, order, order. It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. Neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. To tell the truth now is an act of self-preservation. The truth? Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood splattered all over the accused's coat. Are you sure on that point? Yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat the pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? Her coat could somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood. There'd be conclusive evidence here. Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's the true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in courtroom as a basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a similar quality of the chemical reagent used. With your lordship's permission, we could scatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Bruno. Why not? Well, we know, don't we? There's blood all over the front of Jeannie's coat. They test it with their chemicals. Oh, help, you're right. I was forgetting what happened yesterday. Don't move, Ginny. I'm going to shoot. But that's not Mr. Renwick's blood, the stain from 2 months ago. It's Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by Mr. McGilded, who was wearing the coat at the time. My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord von Zieks, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. And while we wait for the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find that blood on the overcoat, Gina will be... Counsel. Yes, my lord. Your cross-examination. Of course, my lord. If this cross-examination doesn't go well, if I don't manage to overcome some decisive evidence or really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. Okay, so it's still not doing like the final music, so I guess we still have bits more to do with this trial. How much longer can it really go? Okay, while these ruffians were jousting with the broker, I've still stood near the entrance of the shop. We'll press every statement and see what we can find. Mr. Winnebaker emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He suddenly had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never seen so scared in my life. Yeah, we were just regular, mild-mannered burglars at all. We don't like violence. Says the pair who carried a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of fitted items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Then Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they can handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help me little brother, but the geezer chucked me over the bloomin' counter. So he pulled me gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scamper. The pair of you sitting upon the poor defenseless pawnbroker together. Shame on you. Sorry, Gov. When Sir Winnebaker threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed into the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was exactly at the moment that it happened. I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the calendar on the wall behind you. so it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped it with a handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to the doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. And imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Mr. Winnebank intend to shoot you, do you think? And now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled my gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way, and he scampered to the door out back. At which point, what did you do? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Isn't this... The accused in the black overcoat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. Hold up.
Objection!
You already testified that one shot was done. How did he shoot it again? Really? You're not gonna give me that one? Okay, well that's bullshit. Okay, we'll just press everything. We'll just do it again. Even though it should be obvious this is bullshit. You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why. But after I ran after him to the back of the shop, what about this peephole in the door you mentioned? Well, unsurprisingly, the storeroom's door is a solid job, made of stout wood. But there's a small opening in it about the head height that lets you see what's going in there from the outside. I should know about that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. And what about you bungling brothers? Did you see what went on through that peephole as well? Not likely, Gov. Didn't see nothing of the sort, Gov. That these two buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the Skulkin brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Winnebank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and that young girl standing there. Defendant. Yes, though neither of them noticed what I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back of as he was trying to flee to safety. Yes, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. That was Mr. Winnebank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And we've already established, Mr. McGraden, that the bullet was fired by you. But no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from Winnebank's gun grazed my arm. And yes, the Skulkin brothers grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely. A third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time. But no other gun was found at the scene. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry? You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then, all of a sudden, the broker turned to run. It was at that moment the little gutter rat shot him in the back. A chilling image, I must say. I saw the blood spatter all over that wretched girl.
Hold it!
All over her? Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, with the coat being in such a dark color. But I assure you, the garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it's sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Winnebank's blood, is it? No, that's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from the night when Mr. McGilded stabbed him 2 months ago. It's so annoying. If they only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our cause. Bother.
Hold it!
Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room. That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over. Over where exactly? To the direction of the storeroom door, where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, but then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door. Why on earth would she do such a thing? I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went to pick it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there, in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime. Yes, it was yours truly. I left the clear up to my lackeys and left. Clear up? We made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistle and Flute here told us to tidy up. He thinks our bloomin' moms. He thinks he's our bloomin' mom sometimes. He's paying you enough, by God. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by chance the second disc in your jacket pocket? You're like a bull.
Oh, rag!
You're like a bull at the gate, aren't you?
Excuse me.
What the fuck are you doing? Gentlemen. Something wrong, Sunshine? It should be my line. You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin. Blimey, that Dee's a bit of a hooligan, ain't he? What was going on just now? You saw him. He grabbed me whistle. Why the blazes, he said, didn't you mention the third gun when we got down to the station? And why didn't you? Because we didn't know nothing about it. That flaming peephole in the door. Sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes. Not hurt, are you? Oh, blimey. That's the way... See the way he's looking at me? I'm telling you, this deed gives me the willies. That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Rixie at all. He's normally all sweetness and light, no matter what I say to him. Yes, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris. Anyway, I was definitely out of character. My lord, requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Explain yourself, officer. As the results of the test that was ordered earlier, my lord. The blood. On the accused's overcoat. Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel. No, my lord. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of splattering following a gunshot wound. End of report. Goodness me. See? What did I tell you?
Objection!
No, the blood in that coat is not Mr. Windibank's. What makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGilded. Just before his coat was deposited at Windibank's, Mr. McGilded had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood in the overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case.
Objection!
Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nipponese friend? Sorry. 2 months ago, in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for Mr. McGilded's innocence? And yet, now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer. Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned yourself in this country. But that was... Call it a bally disgrace, treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether the blood in the coat is 2 months old or not? Even the stereoscopes can't help answer that problem pop out. It can't be done. But you use Mr. Sholmes' specially formulated chemicals. Mr. Sholmes is a detective, not a chemist. Would you put such faith in chemical formula derived by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I held out Peroshki to a starving boy and he ran away crying. What the fuck did that have to do with it? Sherlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom. No weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from start to finish. How do you arrive at such a conclusion, sir? As a witness said, the accused coat was splattered with blood at the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known that fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid, and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is a whole truth. My lord, been a long battle this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please. Mr. Foreman? As of this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision. Ready, men? All for one now.
Guilty.
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 Guilty!
Guilty.
It appeared the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached a unanimous verdict. Okay, the defense incidentally failed to unpick the witness's testimony. And so any attempt you made at unpicking the jury's decision being equally here's any attempt you may make at unpicking the jury's decisions being equally successful. I don't believe it. After I've come so far, how's it all unraveling on me so fast? How very distressing. To be held in such low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Officer, if you delivered the report now, that would be all, thank you. It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo, that scientific truths are determined not by science, but in none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Am I going mad? Oh, good fucking God.
Smash.
Mr. Sholmes. What? What is the meaning of this? Order, order, order. What business do you have here, detective? The last I heard, you were recuperating in the hospital. As well as I would be, had I not been set upon an errand. What errand? Hurley, it's really you. You're awake at last. Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be rather late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you would humor me. In what manner, sir? He's still doing his little hat flick. God damn it. I have something of great importance I wish to give the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind to spare us the time? What say you to this, Lord Von Zieks? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time. Having spent so long already... Exactly, having spent so long already, you don't want to go wasting any more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Very well then. Counsel, you have 5 minutes. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. Mr. Sholmes, are you alright now? Alright. I'm all wrong. Sorry. I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand, man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may prove too much for me. Pray forgive me should I pass out. Let's make this discussion as short as possible. Hurley, this place is full of idiots. None of them see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Well, that concoction of mine was really a bit of a sport to assist me in my investigations. I never took the trouble to refine it for appraisal by the scientific community. Oversight on my part. Right. Modestly, surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this, my dear fellow. What's that? A lavender Feroshki wrapping? A leaving present from Mrs. Zato. From Mrs. Zato. If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do her favor. I don't understand. Mrs. Zato foresaw today's events, I believe. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by being both devious and underhanded, and that you, Mr. Naruhodo, fighting fairly as you want to do, would find yourself in a considerable peril. At the very moment of crisis, you were to be given this small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. Leaving presents from Sato-san. Whatever could it be? What is this music? What is this? Oh, it's the machine I made. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flapomat. It makes a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. What's Susie up to? Mrs. Otto muttered the following words before she left. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be the judicial assistant. Didn't she say something like that? You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. What did she mean by that, Mr. Sholmes? That night, when you left Mr. Winnebank in pursuit of the thieves, Mrs. Otto made use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. No, not all that all cryptic then. Mrs. Otto used this cat flapomat that night. But why? Your 5 minutes is over. We're out of time already? I'm grateful for you to affording us this brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, Detective. After all, the die is cast. Is it really? The jurors are unanimous in their leanings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. I wonder... Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? The rest is down to me. I need to be careful here. If I make the wrong move, the trial will end badly. My lord, the defense requests... We don't need a summation examination, right? I feel like that's not going to help us. But we paused the cross-examination, right? Can we go back to it? Further cross-examination. The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now. The defense is not asking for a cross-examination of a new witness. Rather, to continue with one of an existing witness. What? It would appear that the real important details escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. Yeah, because we only suspended it, right? We didn't actually conclude it. Requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very well, the cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel. No, my lord. So nobody can say anything then. If Renos asks to resume its cross-examination of Mr. Graydon, the court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd. That's why it's important to pay attention to the words used. I remind those present this is my courtroom. I concur the defense is entirely within its rights to request a continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit unrelenting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity to conclude the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness's testimony, and but one piece of evidence presented in support of... You get one shot!
Boom's work.
a single chance to present evidence. If following that the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsels? You will not present the witnesses any further. My lord. Wait, did he say... He said present or press? You will not press the witnesses any... Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. It's generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's high time I fell into a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Jesus fucking... Mr. Sholmes! What the fuck? To stand so instantly before the court in a state of such high fever, either the man has an extraordinary strength of mind, or an extraordinary lack of feeling. Imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? How much longer can this case go? Yes, one statement, one piece of evidence. I won't mess Mr. Sholmes down, or Iris. And I won't waste this final chance that Sasado-san has given me. It's going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then. Under the terms I have outlined, you may resume the cross-examination. Okay, so I gotta find one statement. Oh, this music is interesting. While these ruffians were joustling with the broker, I was still near the entrance of the shop. As he made through Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. He pursued the man and shut himself in the storeroom. See the peephole at the door, though. The accused, in a black overcoat, shut the man as he was trying to flee back to safety. So the blood splattered over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape.
How big is the gosh darn people? How big is the people?
Enough.
Enough.
It's like a window. Okay, hold on. Phew, those vicious teeth look like they could rip through almost anything. They're good, aren't they? They're made of special alloy I developed just for this job. How to rotate 10 times per second so we can get through any kind of door in no time at all. What are these two parts at the top here? Those are for attaching the hinges to the section of the door that gets cut out. Right, of course. But they can match this machine for power. They can make mincemeat of even the toughest of doors. It sounds so charming and friendly when you say that it's for, but I feel like the reality of the cat flap is that it's a grim weapon of door destruction. Why could he's so adorable? There's nothing I wouldn't do for him, even developing deadly weapons. Okay. I feel like this is the piece that's got to be presented.
Objection.
But I don't see how it fits together. What on earth is this eccentric contraption, counsel? Oh, it's my cat flatomat, my lord. It makes a way for a cat to get in and out of a room. Got through any door you can think of. And make a neat little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating a so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please without their owners having to open the main door. I'm sure we can get work that all out for ourselves. The cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance in this case. Really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there's no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function another way, then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine, in practically no time at all. Beg your pardon? A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Windibank had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us were together. It has recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked at the peephole myself in order to see the inside of the locked room. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much as my testimony. How else could I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Oh, are they suggesting... Yes, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean to say, my lord, my assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door. Until such a time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. What?
Objection!
Yeah, you are not going to be able to prove that one. Are you suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place by my judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with this crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? This is a most serious act of vandalism, for which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in a few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Sulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this news for information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed to the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, the peephole did not yet exist in the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Is there any credence to this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly. It's just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. How do you seriously expect people to believe that that plaything can cut through a solid wooden door? Yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It cuts through even the toughest of doors. It's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. I had a feeling you'd say that. What? I am not saying that. Well, young lady, this is the Old Bailey. One does not make a cat flap in the oak paneling of the Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at the Windibanks was made by your machine. There's no way you can prove that it was. No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps of my cat flap-o-matic crates are all have a fixed size. And the dimensions of the peephole at the Windibanks are the exact match. Old Silk is lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student's friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for Eastern Island home. Yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing the facts. For the sake of the argument, let's assume the peephole was dimensions that are perfect fit for the contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. What's the purpose of this line of inquiry, Lord Von Zieks? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. There is no proof. For as long as the defense remains unable to prove that when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. Indeed, that is so, Lord Von Zieks. Well, Counsel, don't give up now, Runo. This is the time to create your own opening and force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Susato-san is the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well. The counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim being made. Prove that the people in the door of Winterberg's storeroom was created after the event and not before. How the fuck do I do that? Okay, so I have to present something, right? What could I possibly show? Oh, these photos, right? Yeah, there's nothing on this door.
Take that!
What are you? A print from the detective's infernal cameras again. My judicial assistant, Miss Susato Mikotoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt. She would have considered this scenario and made sure I had necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, Counsel? This print shows a scene of the shop moments after the defendant entered the premise. Agreed. It also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defenseless broker. But more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. This is really quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Order. I'm satisfied with the defense has substantiated its claim beyond any reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely fallacious. It's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with the crime scene. But more importantly, good Lord, there's more, Lord Von Zieks? The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury. But that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene. It's true. And I was shot in the arm. It's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please. I don't believe this. At the right, as it stands now, I don't have any definitive proof that he is the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris, you know what they say. There's no point locking the cat's door. The cat has bolted. Isn't that right, Runo? As Hurley always says, one lie begets another. Now wait, that might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. No matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told us make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there's a fundamental inconsistency with your statements. What?
Objection!
The coat, right? Provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court? Explain the alleged inconsistency. Iris was right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witness's statement. They should show Mr. Graydon had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about, namely, the bloodstains on the coat. The bloodstains that were present on Miss Lestrade's coat. That's right. The victim's blood splattered all over her when she shot him. But how could you possibly have known that? Obviously, because I saw her do it. The people in the... The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you... What the fuck? It was the nature of the lie that you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me explain to you in a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you knew of the existence of a peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously Has the cat got your tongue, witness? The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred, and once I returned to the shop, having failed to catch the 2 burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windibanks constantly, carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Well, yes, of course. The place is chock full of pawned articles, and my lads had to go through and examine them all. So I gave the order to have the officers working around the clock in shifts to get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the peephole in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection!
And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain he witnessed the crime take place through the peephole in the door. How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, Lord Von Zieks? Speak, Inspector. It's just I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, if it's all the same to you. Permission denied. Oh, it's not all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until the trial concludes. Of course, sir. Sir Graydon? You shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed by it by someone else.
Objection!
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications. Yes, but the defense believes the details about the case that Mr. McGraden claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. In fact, considering the particular clue we have, there's really only one person it could be. Who's the person in question, counsel? Who gave this witness details of the crime scene to facilitate his false testimony?
Take that!
Sorry, Gregson. The truth is, it can have only been you, Inspector Gregson. Me?
Objection!
You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for his testimony were made with great urgency during the hour-long recess, while the police executed the subpoena and brought the man here from the communication station. And until that time, Mr. Graydon would have no idea, no inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such a time he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Until then, it was reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the peephole. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position. He would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. You were suggesting to the court that it was while the trial was in progress that he received this information, so that he can commit perjury in order to save his skin. Exactly. And the only person with knowledge of the investigation that he had any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson. This is a bloomin' outrage. Why would I be giving away details of our investigation to this fella, eh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means the first time these two laid eyes on one another was right after the proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view of the stand, where such illicit discussions couldn't possibly have occurred. I just remembered something, Bruno. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Yes, now that you mention it. When the bailiff was dispatched to retrieve Mr. McGillicuddy's music box from the scene of the crime. That's it. It was during that testimony. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Graydon and the inspector seemed to be having a kind of secret discussion. It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon the information he needed then. Little toe rag, you're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke? Admittedly, you wouldn't have had any reason to do something like that for no gain. But perhaps it was part of a deal of some kind. It starts to make more sense. What deal, Counsel? I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene, Mr. Graydon agreed to give you a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness would certainly be a gross case of malfeasance. Well,
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with the accusations is this Nipponese student's specialty. I don't do that. But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of its diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing that the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof of this alleged deal. If Inspector Gregson really did strike a deal with Mr. Graydon, then logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. You know, do you think it could be... Yes, it's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. I must press you for an answer now, Counsel. What evidence explains the nature of this alleged deal that Mr. Inspector Gregson made with the witness? Okay, I'm on my, last, dot. I can't fuck this up. So let's see here. He only seems to panic when it comes to, the disc and the music box, right?
Take that!
Inspector Gregson, besides this murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case? What? What are you getting at now, Sunshine? Is it possible that this other top-secret case is what's alluded in this magazine here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. How the bleeding Nora could you... We discovered during the course of this trial the music box deposited at the window banks of Magnus McGilden, a special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that the encoded on the pair of discs that were in Mr. McGilden's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing those secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the disc for details of the case. You little... Order, order, order. On the day of the incident, when you met at Winterbanks, you said this. I'll be taking that whatever it is of Mr. McGillicuddy's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. No, don't. Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGillicuddy has to be taken in as evidence now. Scotland Yard already knew it at the time, isn't that right? That Magnus McGillicuddy was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked to the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew it contained highly confidential information. Well, I mean, not likely. I mean, I wasn't sure of it myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness. To aid and abet this man is giving false testimony. There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known of the existence of that peephole. It's the only explanation. A deal was struck between these two men. If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc, and as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What? What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly, he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this manner. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Gracious, then you mean to say Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? He has the second disc actually on his person.
Yes!
The defense demands that the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could have only struck a deal with each other when Jenny was testifying before. And Gregsy hasn't moved from the witness stand since. My lord, please, order an examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector? This young man wants to tone down his imagination. He insulted me in my profession quite enough. However, if you'll put this matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's going to agree to it. I presume you're aware of the precipice on which you're now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following the search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is to be found, it will be deemed unfit for court service. This trial will end, and my country's government will formally demand that of yours to be severely reprimanded. It sounds serious. Indeed, to have a visiting student make such a defamatory remark about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook. You're just threatening Runo because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. It's prepared for grave consequences. It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here. Very well, counsel. You know the implications, so let me ask you one final time. Yes, my lord. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects? No, I want to search somebody else. Yes, the defense formally demands the search to be conducted. Well, say you weren't warned. But your typical Nipponese stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I got nothing to hide. Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search on the inspector's personal effects. The defense demands a search, but not of Inspector Gregson. What? Now what's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector, not you. Somebody else. What is the meaning of this, eh? Lost it at last, have you, Sunshine? The courtroom shouldn't have put up with all this nonsense. You're being completely irrational. Be quiet, all of you. Bruno's doing what you all told him to do, and having the courage of his convictions, so you respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction and eagerly awaits his next words. You what? Don't be so hasty, my lord. If I'm not mistaken about the things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly sure that I know who has the disc at the moment. There's only one person it can be. Counsel, of whom do you request a search now? Okay, so I do think it was handed off to the detective, but remember, there was a moment where he grabbed another person. He might have slipped the disc onto him, and if that's the case...
Take that!
My lord, of Nash Skulkin. Well, I never... Me? Him? Very well then. Bailiff, restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his personal effects. Please, my lord. Inspector, Scotland Yard has to object to the search. Unfortunately for you, Inspector. Your objections carry no weight here. In this courtroom, only the prosecution and defense have the authority to object. But Lord Von Zieks, I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. Bailiff, carry out the search. Now, hold on a moment. I don't know nothing. Nothing about no disc. Here, my lord. In the witness's pocket. I found this. Good lord, that's another musical box disc. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing. This is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not, Inspector Gregson? Order! Mr. Skulkin, what do you have to say for yourself? Gordon Flamin Bennett. I swear I didn't know nothing about that disc. Honest to God. Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck between this witness and this detective, no? Without question, my lord. Then for pity's sake, why on earth was the man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information? Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure, but at one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment. I don't recall what unusual behavior. It was, yes, during my cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? I admit to nothing of the sort. While Mr. Graydon answered my questions, the inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by the coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, he did and all. Me noggin was gonna fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I had been born as me brother, I was. But what actually happened is to make the detective attack you like that. I ain't got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me, whistled like he was starting that and started shaking me. Why the blazes did you mention the third gun when you got down to the station? That's what he said. He held it right down my ear hole, he did. Your head's still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved then was extremely out of character, but looking back now, it must have been then that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself, in order to hide the disc. Oh, bless my wig, he hid it? I'm afraid I failed to comprehend the motive here. The detective had acquired the disc he was after. Why on earth would he then proceed to hide it from another man's pocket? It's the court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. However not, as the man himself revealed earlier. His current assignment has some special conditions. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT. Strictly hush-hush. Hush-hush. Top secret assignment, is it? As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from confidential government communications. It would seem that if the information were to be revealed to the court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under direct orders from the Ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there's a chance you may have searched here in court, you took steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness. Does that mean he'd only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him, and slipped the second disc into his pocket? This was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit the accusation made against you of this alleged deal? Admit to it? Yours truly, please. Mr. Graydon? Clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed that disc to the inspector. But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit. So sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder? Leaking government secrets? Striking a deal with the detective? All of it is just this young Eastern man's fancy. I have no idea what any of this is about. You what? Oh my goodness, could this case end already? For fuck's sakes! Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as a Scotland Yard inspector, I will declare the disc and nothing more. I am acting in the best interests of this country. Whatever I've done in the name of justice. So, as members of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guiding light when you're making your decisions. It's quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness in conducting a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury of for their final leanings. Now, as a fellow servant of the Queen and country, must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. Service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Graydon is a highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in possession of idol. Stop. Presence of idol. The detective has very much trust in my eyes. More than this, I cannot say. I believe it. These 6 jurors are... They're going to believe Gregson. They declared the decision now. Is Ginny going to be found guilty? If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're going to lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets. Or some evidence that forced Gregson to admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, counsel, I think it's time I impose on the jurors to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have something compelling evidence you would thus not presented to the court. If I let the judge call on the jurors to announce their leanings, Ginny will be found guilty. So there's no choice then, Bruno. We have to throw some more evidence at them. This is it now. This all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against, Gregson or Graydon? Probably the detective, no? Inspector Gregson, there's one final piece of evidence I'd like you to see. What's that, then? If you refuse to acknowledge that you did in fact strike a deal with the witness here today, then you leave us no choice but to examine this piece of evidence. Thoroughly. Go on. It's my last chance. Looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get this detective to admit the deal he clearly struck with Graydon. I don't have the thing, do I? Is that Mr. McGilda's peculiar music box, counsel? Yes. With the disc already in place, ready to play, I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time, with the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well. Goodness, this disc, counsel. No, wait. I can't let you do that. Why not? Because, well... Because it's got nothing to do with this case. That's why. Not true, Inspector. The defense has already proposed. The sounds heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that the Morse code comprises of 2 distinct tones. The defense believes the second disc contains a second tone needed to complete the message. Now we have a chance to confirm that theory. Crying out loud, Sunshine, we're talking state secrets here. If you go out in a whole courtroom hear that confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? That in order to protect those state secrets, you engage in unlawful dealings with the witness? You're mad. If you let the secret information out into the public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot.
Objection.
Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, Scotland Yard officer, leaked confidential details to a witness. That you continue to lie to the court, all because, by fair or by foul, you determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare. I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. My lord, if you please, the court must hear the sounds being made by that music box. Come on, Lord Von Zieks, for Pete's sake, stop him.
Objection!
Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth, by fair means or foul. Very well. The defense stands here, and that of the prosecution have been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to the music box is set in operation. Court will now listen as the music box is set in motion once more. This time, the second disc in place, and both discs playing simultaneously. Oh, listen to that. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. All right, I admit it. Whatever you want. But for the love of God, shut that bloomin' box up. Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? The pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector. I did. Stop. What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess, we were stood there in the stand together. That's when he approached me with the detail. Shut up, you imbecile. Shut up! Psst, you there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbroker the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector. With me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. More information that may be certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I couldn't let that information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances, so I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The people on the storeroom door, and the bloodstains on the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. And yet you still revealed those, you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness' perjury. I did. But then it turned out that the people had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape the conviction of a very serious crime, namely this. You were the third intruder who broke into the pawnbroker in the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Sir Pop Windibank. Traitor! Excuse me? Yeah, mate. That's not gonna go well for you. Assault against a police officer. Bailiff, restrain that man. Once. That's it then. It's all over. despised my life growing up. Those slums were vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. The little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole. And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But then you decided to try to sell government secrets. Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out. I had more money than anyone could live in that squalor could ever imagine. And one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fern with a square talent, so you are. I've money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me little plan now. I was to steal the Ministry's telegraphic message logs, and Mr. McGill would buy them for me for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for the inspections of the Ministry's communication office, it was a simple enough task. The lure of the devil's offerings. How easy it is to succumb. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing. And for that reason, it took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable. By using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right. He was very skilled with his hands. He had once been a music box maker apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code. So I sought out my father again, to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He's a different man to the one in my memory. A thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. Got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made. Music box disc, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the score with me. There are two, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch me tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had to make the two discs. Thereby splitting the information in two. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with Mr. McGill in two separate transactions. The first involved the first of the two discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with Mr. McGill for 10 guineas. Then on receipt of the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago was the second part of the deal, the exchange of the second disc. Yes, I sold the man information that way a number of times already, but seems he became reluctant to part with his money. But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it on the omnibus 2 months ago? Your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGill and not yourself. When I received 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with Mr. McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. When my father realized something was amiss, in time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you'll let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from Mr. McGillen. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the disc I asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him. He never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years and not once uttering it, I swore to my father's name. to exact revenge. Revenge? As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, McGill had brought all of his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. The trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into that hornet's nest completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I made plenty of money out of my dealings with Mr. McGill by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangement 2 months ago, and knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in this city willing to do anything you ask. McGill himself had shown me that. Are you saying that... I think you have the picture now. After he twisted everything in his favor in his courtroom to ensure that he walked away free, I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice that the monster deserved. That tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGill's death that day was caused by this man. Everything is ready, sir. If you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. What's this, officer? Just sooner than I was led to believe. I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There's some changes to the schedule. Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I'm asked if I could be present for it myself. So that policeman who came to tell Mr. McGill he could examine the omnibus again. That's right, an imposter, hired by me. McGill had used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manners of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered Mr. McGill inside and set him to a one-way journey to hell. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death. Spine-chilling account indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. A loose end? Yes. I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken to exchange with Mr. McGill. Yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago, clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime. When I realized it was missing, I remember something. Something from the first time I dealt with Mr. McGill. Oh my god, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. This is the first of 2 discs in the music box you need to play for them. Now look at that now. An ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for you, young man. What's this? Winnebago's pawnbrokery. Aye, this is a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I deposited there for you. There's no need to give a name, just hand over the ticket and tell the fee, to fin the watchword. I put a jewel in the pawn for me. Fetch good 10 guineas if you sell it, if so, well. I've never heard of a pawnbroker being used in quite that way before. Have you not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. Though I knew that if he had taken steps to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And on that night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at the Windibanks that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From the trial. Pickpocket's testimony was clearly peculiar. Anybody could see that. I realized immediately she was another one of Mr. McGillet's pawns. She must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some inquiries. I had strong suspicion the girl had come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. He was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was to wait until the girl went to Windibanks to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only Mr. McGillet's overcoat and the one disc that was in his pocket. The all-important music box and the second disc inside was missing. It had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation had stolen into government secrets was progressing, we picked on the fact that Miss Gilded was involved. Inspector, you recovered fast. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible, so we started gathering fellas' possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard. We had to keep it as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I'm sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere, so I knew it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. That's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery? I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the box I had sold to Mr. McGilden in the shelves of the forfeited articles. And the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. What are you doing in my shop? A gunshot rang out in the shop. I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Before I knew what was happening, I fired back. The man had already turned to flee, and intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled to the storeroom door for refuge. Sorry tale. It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. That's the whole story. That's everything that happened the night of Winnebanks, and that wretched night.
Do you want a couple of the Szechuan dumplings?
Sure. Early, you called Mr. McGillen a monster. A man who uses wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony, for what you have done is exactly the same. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilden. Yes, I think I have. Oh, this has been a long and exhausting... Yeah, tell me about it, for fuck's sakes! However, it would seem that at last we have arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson would have asked Graydon. He's being restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He's been charged with the murder of Mr. Winnebank, and stealing of government secrets. Very good. And you, Inspector, regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself. Yes, my lord. Of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. The fact remains whether or not you were doing so in line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector. Inexcusable. Now to the defendant, Miss Dina Lestrade. Yeah? It is time for the final adjudication. The jury is ready, Mr. Foreman. Yes, sir. Garrett Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
stuff. I'm off the hook. Finally, Runo. You finally managed to do it. Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world. Miss Lestrade, I'm not finished with you yet. What are you looking at me like that for? Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider. 2 months ago, in the courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? In relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Mr. Winnebake's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilda's property, it seems. I've never done nothing of the sort. Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing Mr. McGilda's coat in a cell yesterday or anything. And just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening. Turning our attention to the defense, determining that, when played together, the music box disc contained a message in Morse code was certainly a most unexpected revelation, Counsel. Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast. To demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. Very sorry about that. It's the only way I could get Inspector Gregson to admit what he had done, so... If I may say something on that point... Isn't that... It's, about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder... if that was really Morse code at all. What? What are you saying, Madam? Oh, well, it's just... I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much though when the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact. Goodness, Madame. An unhealthy level of obsession one feels. But I must say that in my opinion, the sounds produced by those 2 discs are nothing more than that. A meaningless series of 2 different tones. What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all? Oh my good fucking god. Where is this gonna go? Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you? Those discs contain ministerial secrets, Sunshine. This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications. We know Mr. McGilda conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets required from Mr. Graydon. But the man has admitted to his crimes. We have no need to pursue the matter further. But it's really gonna bother me. Miss Lestrade. Yeah, my lord? That which you have seen here today in this courtroom will be extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to befell any child. Come on. It ain't nothing I don't see most days in the back slums. I beg your pardon? If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair. But if you want it to change, you gotta start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself. Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Windebank, proprietor of the pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Only 18 hours later, finally not guilty. Maybe don't fire guns in the courtroom. It's probably a very bad idea. That is all. Court is adjourned. Interesting. On a personal note, I must say you surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Oh? Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within an Englishman. At the same time, saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings, not so different on the inside. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason, to lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom. You did? When I encountered you for the first time— oh my fucking god, can you stop?
They're gonna have an angry sex.
Jesus Christ.
Get in the room.
When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, while I find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew, and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly? Well, you may ask. And one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my retirement from service 5 years ago, gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again. of April, 5:24 p.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. It's done. It's over at last. I should have ended this like an hour ago. I didn't realize there was so much more to do, but okay, I just gotta push through because it's the end. No more trial. Where'd Iris disappear to? Ah, congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were. It's a. Oh, you did what you said, Mr. Naruto. You believed in me, right up to the end. Irizada's your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I? No one has never has before, you see? Kept a promise, I mean, properly. It's awful. Figured out something today. All my life, growing up in the slums, I never trusted no one. But that's just 'cause I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down. Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in the trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust somebody and paid for it. The betrayal left a big scar. You know, though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently, too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well, if you say so. That'll make a fat lot of sense to me, though. I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, it's been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in. I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. The defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Hey, Sholmes, what are you doing? But what the deuces does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? That voice. It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruto. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Yes, it was me all along, I would have said when you finally noticed me. But you people, with your insistent babbling... Mr. Sholmes? Yes, it was me all along, you see? I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh, I happen to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who was tending to me. I merely made my knowledge known to the man. He happily issued me a leave of absence. Very above board. But enough of my adventures. It was a fine victory, Mr. Naruto. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat to you. Oh, thank you? Some great detective you are. Great at being as cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade? While you've been having a snooze in your old nice soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives. Well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Miss Sholmes? And in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Miss Lestrade. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but... An acquittal in the trial of that particular prosecutor is a little... God damn it. Is a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes, not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean. Because anyone who's found guilty in the trial was not guilty in the trial winds up dead anyway, is that it? The very point I was trying to make. It's exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilden, in fact. But of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, don't bother me. Really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like, him upstairs. Him upstairs? You mean, like God? Yeah, him upstairs knows what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. He won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There are some coves like that bog trotter who are rotten to the core. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure to get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper's taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like the McGilds of the world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see? A trait in you which is to be admired, Miss Lestrade. Oh, just give it a rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. Well, there you are, Hurley. How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in the room dressed as a bailiff. These dolts didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Did you credit it? I'm not sure, really. Beg your pardon? I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day. Oh, be careful. Ouch. Anyway, it's such a shame. I was hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight, but you won't be able to come, will you? Doesn't look like I'm going to be going nowhere for a while. You heard the judge pratter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All of them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the bog trotter stuff was in a log, blah blah blah. Yeah, I think you find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense, it's a job, innit? I don't think so. Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Odo? Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I can make a change. You gotta do something for all them like me from the slums, so it makes a difference to them. It's a wonderful idea, Jenny. I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing. Miss Gina Lestrade. The prison carriage has arrived, madam. Come with me to the rear gates at once. Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yes, goodbye, Gina. And good luck. Odo? Yes? What was that for? I don't know, I mean... I don't know what to say, so... indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a hereto missing... Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hereto missing from your vocabulary, Mr. Strahd. On occasions such as this, I'd recommend a simple thank you. Oh? Yes, it's good advice, Ginny. Right, I see. Well... Thanks. Thank you for everything of what you've done. For believing in me. Not at all. In fact, it should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. Oh, quite the indomitable indomitable paper. I'm losing my ability to speak, for fuck's sakes. I nearly forgot. I bought a paper outside. It's a special edition. This trial is all over the front page. Pickpocket innocence proven. Isn't it wonderful? You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled. No, how silly of me. But anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news? Not again. Well, what do you say, Bruno? Hurley? As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention to listen to anything but good news. And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it? Let's not go there. Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It's a record level of rainfall, apparently. Well, that is good news indeed. You can journey back in greater comfort. Alright, then what's the bad news? The huge storm has left the sea very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailing out to Dover would have been delayed by a day or more. Wait, Dover? That's right. If we head to the station immediately, we may still make it in time to wave Susie off. But there won't be a train, surely. We won't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we may be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. Happen to be aware of a number of rail transports director's foibles. I merely made my knowledge to them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary. Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way. What are we waiting for, then? To London, Victoria. The 18th of April, 5:32 a.m. Sasato, where are you? Over there, look. Looks like she's reading something.
Hold it!
Miss Sasato, wait, what are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo? What are you doing here? We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that the sailing was delayed due to this bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. That's wonderful. Really wonderful news. The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh dear. I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. So, I was saying my final farewell. You were saying goodbye to law. You, Susato-san? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Miss Susato? I deliberately altered the scene of the crime, and I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mrs. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? The art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun. I stole Runo's armband. Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. The band's very important to me. If it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flapomat, so I put it on my sleeve. Really? I rather forgot about it until I found myself in Mr. Winterbake's shop with it later that night. I see. And then... Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. After Mr. Naruhodo left the shop, I started to think. The door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door, you mean? Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could be only behind that door. And at that moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know. So you used a flapomat to make a peephole in the door. It's captured in the photographic print of the shop by one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. Indeed, it's one of the first importance, that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. When I looked through the hole in the door, the sight of that met my eyes made my blood run cold. That started to run through my mind. Jesus fucking Christ. I remember that trial 2 months earlier, the trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. Then, a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the exact same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Winterbank. You know, I was sure she would never have done such a thing. You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime. That's right. But when I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in the case. What do you mean? Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have been a for someone to have claimed to have witnessed it, there would have had to have been a way for the seat beyond the door. For which, a peephole would be the very thing. Well, the peephole I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. So the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference. The possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it? So is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even to the police. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong, a criminal offense even, so I decided to confine to Mr. Sholmes. If Naruhodo was completely backed into a corner, with no other possible means of escape, the truth of the peephole could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have been rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. It would have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with the crime scene, so Mrs. Zada decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake, Miss Lestrade's. Mrs. Zada. The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I lost a little of my faith in the law. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that, is the very moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant. What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Raiden is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that people as a way to implicit Gina. Besides, the people inconsistently hadn't existed. I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Mrs. Otto, what you did saved Gina's life. Ah, for fuck's sakes. Okay, I'm having issues, or my frames have been dropping for a long period of time. I don't know how much of that actually got caught, but jeez. Okay. I'd like to just wrap this up, but the internet's giving me shit. Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruto, you've saved me too from my... Okay. I don't want to end the stream right here. Because we're right at the end. So we must be all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured. Yes, exactly. Though some of the loose ends in the trial will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure. The revelation of the music boxes contains secret messages, Mr. Naruto. What a triumph to work that out. Full of admiration. Actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't? There's a communications officer among the jury members, you see. A telegraph operator. But she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect, after all, we're talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood, should they have been intercepted. Cipher? I see. So then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pipe problem, I assure you. What? So... didn't you... What? Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, come on, please, Internet. Okay. Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you? Means something. Asogi was the name of my best friend. I swear to God, please. Stop dropping. Just let me end this, please. Okay, so yeah. Asogi was the name of my best friend. What? But how? How did you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was played on the music box. She just transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in a plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whatever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. It suddenly occurred to me that, you see, there's more than one Morse code, just not the English variety. A variety of countries across the world can have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages. I don't believe it. Are you saying... That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before, but I think it's based on the Iroha pangram, isn't it? You mean to say that in Japanese Morse code, the message says asogi? Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Sasada, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Yes, I spent some time studying it, because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications. Then might I recommend, my dear madame, that you focus your efforts on the English version. Be it as it may, Iris, show me the message, please. Of course. But what can this possibly mean? Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes has made the color drain from Sasato's son's face. There's no doubt this message is written in Japanese Morse code, so the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications. I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names? The first is Kei Asagi, Kazuma Asagi. Why was his name on that disc? The second is A. Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. The third, T. Rugerson. Gregson? It would appear Tobias Gregson is the third man on the list. And what is his name doing in a secret government communication as well? And the last name. What's the matter, Miss Sasato? It's just so strange. So unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It only says J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then, after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. That's the end of the message. Rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris. I can't believe it. Who would have thought? But those discs contain Japanese Morse code, not to mention a strange blip. Fucking internet, please stop. I'm trying to finish this up. It's really annoying. I keep seeing red and frames dropping. Let me get through this, please. Not to mention a strange list of disturbing familiar names. It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. So that it could be in Japan then. Where's Susie and Runo from? Oh, well... no. It's not very likely, really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there's lots of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumi University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. This is so strange. Somehow, solving the case of Mr. Windibank's murder today, I feel like I've rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon. Yes, it seems so. I'll sail that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France, then I'll change onto a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie? We wish you a safe passage, Mrs. Otto. Thank you so much. Wish you all the very best. Mrs. Otto, I hope to have you always at my side to guide me and support me. Mrs. Naruhodo, please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. Promise? About your manuscript? Yes, the Hounds of the Baskervilles. Well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. Do you remember the first time we met? Yes, of course. On the SS Bureau, when I was dragged out from that wardrobe, still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Sasato takedown. You know very well I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma's great legacy. Mrs. Sato. My instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that. I'll be back soon. Farewell until then. That's terrible. Don't do that. Don't say that.
Oh no.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey.
Are you sure it's not?
Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Oh, please don't tell me there's more. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, Mr. Sholmes? I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently. Huh? It caused such a commotion on the line, all the other trains had to wait at stations. But really, I would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything and how it was your fault. What, really? You asshole? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow. According to Mrs. Zato, you love defending yourself in court. Huh? It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who would do something so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes? Yes? A word, if you don't mind. Why, certainly. Any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. Yes, I love Reno's words, and I just know just the one he'll use here. Then, I really must say...
Objection!
That was a cute first game. I mean, for what? But remember, there's still a second one we gotta go through. In the following weeks, something was afoot. Though it transpired I had ordered them all myself. Wait, what? So I advised them for sale used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important... Oh, because of music boxes. And the money I earned. Consulting detective work pays a pittance by comparison. Oh, because of all the music boxes he got, he then turned them around. Okay, got it. I forgot he did that. I haven't slept a wink. This manuscript is due tomorrow now. I'm this busy. Hurley usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement. For some dry toast and insipid toffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfasts. Witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions. Exactly. Rarely do rare Koban coins hide under rare steaks themselves. Well, Ida knows and knows his father's an innocent man. Are you calling my son a liar? Witnesses, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments. I kind of forgot about Hosonaga. Jesus Christ. man brings his kitten on board and suddenly he's a hardened criminal? It's not fair. Yeah, we hadn't seen House of Naga since like the second case. Good lord. Fucking internet. Scientific investigations will be the gold standard for policing of the new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline. Like a great clock, in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 27 seconds to my next appointment. Come on, can you just get to the credits, internet, please? The latest Rants magazine is out, and I'm in it again. Whenever I say that one line she wrote now, I get a standing ovation. Want to hear it? Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Been visiting the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Being my old jailbird. Must say, battling with those Bailey stairs every day has been done wonders for this. Managing rather well for the housework too. This maid business tapped up, I'd say. Hope the gossiping neighbors don't realize the man of the house is his own maid. Royally is back on the beat again, all thanks to the Reaper. There's nothing I enjoy more these days than hunting out small change in the gutter. Good lord. I'm a better Bobby now, looking out for Londoners, their dropped halfpennies, and my lovely wife. Looks like I'm going to be doing a time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for a natter, so I ain't too boring. She's always going on about all them cases what Soames is looking into. Criminal investigations are kind of interesting when you get into them. Yes, I renounced my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime. The regrets? Please. Give over, bruv. This ain't the Ash we used to know. We got time here to plan the comeback of Milverton Skulkin's Milkern, right? 3 must go what's it? Milking the neighborhoods for all it's worth. These past 6 months have been a time I shall remember evermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. Come to realize that's what life is all about. Naruhito-san, I promise. Your assistant will return to you one day. For now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish. A flight that will treat you well. Aww. Cat's grabbing your hat. It's cute. This is why you watch. This is why you wait to the credits for like anything at the end. Yeah, that was a fun game. cases were a little bit like, I don't know. Some of the cases kind of didn't feel like connected with everything else. But what the fuck is this? Okay, I guess I'll just let that play. Yeah, no, it was fun. I liked it. Even if the cases are a little long-winded. Like, there were several points there. Several points where I'm like, okay, I see where you're going. Can we catch up?
Get on with it.
Yeah, exactly, get on with it. Like, what the fuck? But, they weren't bad. Got a little bit of a cliffhanger, figure out what the heck's going on, why Kazuma's name has been listed.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Why do you have the name
I have to find. I guess we'll have to find out in the next game what that's about. Okay, well interesting that he got left behind at that point. Alright. See, that alone would have been enough just for me to buy that. Because I think I bought both. Like, if both of them. But I probably would have spent like $40 on just that portion of the story. All the Phoenix Wright games have always had 5 cases. They're all good. Let's see what happens when we go into special content real quick. It looks like there's like quite a bit of stuff that I didn't get.
Use every case.
Let's see, expertise. Whatever this is, I'm not really sure what this is. Probably take a look at that later. What's the tailor? Outfits are only available for the Great Ace Attorney 2. Oh.
Excuse me, what was she wearing?
Yes.
Yes, very respectful.
Okay. Next time I join in here, we'll start with the Great Ace Attorney Resolve.